welcome you all in today's video lecture. Today's topic of our lecture is demographic transition theory, or we can say demographic transition model. Originally, this theory was given by W.S. Thomson in 1929 and Frank W. Nuttestein in 1945. Their theories were based upon the trends in fertility and mortality of many Europeans, American and Australian studies. Their theory had three distinct parts. First one is descriptive, second one is theoretical, third one is predictive. In descriptive part, the simple description of the trends in fertility and mortality through time is given. In theoretical part, the causal mechanism which creates the pattern of trends is given, hence was purely theoretical. In predictive part, predictions about the future is given. Word demographic cycle is also used sometimes by many scholars for this theory of demographic transition model. According to G.T. Trivartha, in 1969, this theory analyzes that with the passage of time, what kind of changes we observe at regional level in the population. In the present-day world, different countries of the world are at different stages of the demographic transition. According to Trivartha Sahab, biologically, man is the same everywhere and is engaged in the process of reproduction. But culturally, man differs from one part of the world to another. It is the cultural diversity of man that gives rise to varying fertility pattern in different areas, resulting in different stages in demographic transition. Or we can say this is mainly because of its dual nature of the man. Stages of demographic transition model by various scholars. Now we will describe here various stages which are given by various scholars for demographic transition model. According to F.W. Nuttestein, first stage is high growth rate, second one is decreasing growth rate, third one is population decrease. So F.W. Nuttestein divide this demographic transition model in three different stages. According to W.S. Thomson, first one is the pre-transition period, second one is the transition period, third one is the post-transition period. Now, according to Carl Sack and G.T. Trivartha, this theory has four different stages. First one is the high stationary, second one is the early expanding, third one is the late expanding, fourth one is the low stationary. Whereas according to C.P. Blacker, this theory has five different stages. First one is the high stationary stage, second one is the early expanding stage, third one is the late expanding stage, fourth one is the low stationary stage, and fifth one is the declining stage. As compared to G.T. Trivartha, Carl Sack, C.P. Blacker has involved one more stage in this theory. Generally, we consider C.P. Blacker's stages of demographic transition model. In first stage, which is high stationary stage, both the birth rate as well as death rate are high. In second stage, early expanding stage, both the birth rate as well as death rate are different, means birth rate is still very high whereas death rate start declines. In third stage, which is known as the late expanding stage, birth rate declines rapidly and death rate is at low level. Fourth stage is the low stationary stage where both the birth rate as well as the death rate remains at the low level. In fifth stage, declining stage, the low birth rate and the drop down below, and it drops down below the death rate. Plus, death rate remains at low level. This will be clear by this diagram that in first stage both are high. You can see it from here. In second stage, the birth rate is still very high, whereas the death rate start decline. In third stage, now the birth rate declines rapidly, whereas the death rate, which is here, death rate is at low level. In the fourth stage, where both and death rate remains at the low level, but in declining stage, the birth rate and death rate both are at low level, but birth rates drop down below the death rate. So, we can say this stage has, graphically, if we want to show the stage, these stages with this diagram, it is very much clear that the red line shows the birth rate, grey line shows the death rate, and the sky blue line shows the total population growth. Here you can see it very easily. In third stage, there is increasement in the population, both not only in the third stage but also in the second stage. Fine. Next one is, here is a brief explanation about the demographic transition model. In stage 1, birth rate is high. Reasons for birth high rate is many children needed for farming, many children die at an early age, religious, social encouragement and minimum family planning programs were adopted. Death rate is also very high. Reason for high death rate is diseases, famine, poor medical knowledge and many children. Rate of natural increase is low. This you can see in this diagram by this sky blue line, that the natural increase in the growth is very low. Population growth fluctuates. Here there is a fluctuation in the population growth, but overall the population remains at low level. Life expectancy, it is under 45 years. Fertility rate is 6.5. Fertility rate is more than 6.5. Here we can see the pyramid shape of the population growth, that base is strong and it starts declining as it goes high. In second stage, the birth rate is high. Many children needed for farming purposes. Many children die at the early age. Religious and social engagement, encouragements and minimum family planning programs were adopted, both in these two stages. Second, the death rate declines fairly rapidly. Here you can see it very easily. The death rate starts declining very rapidly. Reason for the lowering down of the death rate is improvement in medical care, water supply and sanitation and fewer children, etc. Very few children dies because of the medical facilities. Rate of natural increase rapidly. Here you can see the population growth is very high, and it shows the rapid population growth. Fine. You can see it here कि आप जो देखेंगे कि पॉपुलेशन का जो ग्रोथ हो रहा है वो बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है. यहाँ से अगर आप देखें इसको, फाइन. एंड लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी की अगर हम बात करें, इट लाइज इन बिटवीन 45 to 55 years ऑफ. फर्टिलिटी रेट लाइज इन बिटवीन 5 to 6.5. पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड का अगर आप शेप देखें, दिस शेप इज, द बॉटम इज वेरी ब्रॉड and at the peak it becomes very narrower. In third stage, as it is clear from this, the third stage declines fairly rapidly. Here you can see it very well that the birth rate declines very rapidly. The birth rate is showing by red line, whereas the death rate is shown by gray line. Both in case of third stage, the birth rate declines very rapidly. Because of the reason behind this is improvement in medical facilities and fewer children needed. Then we can say that death rate also remains very low. Here you can see it very clearly. The death rate remains very low level because improvement in the medical care, water supply and sanitation, and fewer children die. नेचुरल रेट ऑफ नेचुरल इंक्रीज बिगिंस टू डिक्राई. अब आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं कि जो नेचुरल इंक्रीज हो रहा है वो धीरे 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 कम हो रहा है. इस थर्ड स्टेज में कम की तरफ बढ़ रहा है. पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ, रैपिड पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ होता है लेकिन स्लो डाउन होता है, बाद में वो कम होना शुरू हो जाता है. लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी लाइज इन बिटवीन 55 to 65. फर्टिलिटी रेट डाउन आता है, 3.5 से 5 तक आता है. और यहाँ आप देखिए कि जो पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड का जो शेप बनता है वो थोड़ा कर्व लिया हुआ बनता है. फाइन. इन स्टेज फोर्थ द बर्थ रेट इज वेरी लो, कम्स एट लो. अब आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ नीचे एकदम से कम हुआ थर्ड में और फोर्थ स्टेज में आके बिल्कुल लो हो गया, लेकिन बर्थ रेट में अभी भी फ्लक्चुएशन देख सकते हैं आप. यहाँ देख सकते हैं आपकी फ्लक्चुएशन इज देयर. फाइन. This is mainly the reason behind low birth rate is family planning encouragement, and people are using family planning methods. Good health, improving status of women, delayed marriage and childbirth. Late marriages are also responsible for lowering down of birth rate. Death rate also at the lower level. Here you can see there is no fluctuation in the death rate. It is moving very gently. The graph of death rate is moving very gently. Reason for low death rate is good healthcare facilities, availability of the good healthcare facilities, and reliable food supplies are available. Rate of natural increase is very low. Fine. And the population growth is almost stable. Here you can see this by this sky blue line कि population का जो growth rate है वो बहुत stable है. लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी लाइज इन बिटवीन 65 to 75 years of age. यानी लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी बढ़ गई बिकॉज ऑफ द इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ द गुड मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज. फाइन. फर्टिलिटी रेट जो है वो कम आ गया, 2 to 3.5 के बीच में एग्जिस्ट करने लग गया. और जो आपका पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड का जो शेप है वो थोड़ा सा बेल शेप काइंड का हो गया है. फाइन. इन स्टेज फिफ्थ you can see it very clearly. In this fifth stage the birth rate is low. Here is low birth rate, but this birth rate drops down below the death rate. This is the death rate line and this one is the birth rate line. The birth rate comes below the death rate. Fine. This is mainly because of the people are following family planning methods and they use family planning ways. Good health facilities are available. Good health facilities are available. Later on, we can say that delayed marriages are also responsible and childbirth is also controlled by this. And the death rate is also very low. Fine. The death rate also very low. Now, the reason for low death rate is the good healthcare facilities, availability of good healthcare facilities and reliable food supplies are available in the market. Rate of natural increase becomes negative. आप देखिए कि यहाँ से ये जो growth rate है वो negative आ रहा है, नीचे आ रहा है. Population growth है वो भी decline जा रही है. Life expectancy जो है because of the availability of good medical facilities, life expectancy increases above 75 years of age and fertility rate belows down to. Here you can see the shape of the population pyramid, it becomes a quite bell and hexagonal shape kind. So we can say that in the demographic transition model, we have these 5 different stages. Fine. Now, the main features of these 5 different stages of demographic transition models are: first, in stage 1, which is known as the pre-industrial stage, where the high fluctuation we see and high stationary level of the population we also see. Now, both the birth rate and death rate are high. Population fluctuates mainly due to the increase in famine, diseases and wars, high infant mortality and very low life expectancy because of the lack of medical facilities. Rural society dependent on mainly subsistence agriculture. Total population is low and balanced due to high birth rate and high death rate. कि यहाँ पर birth rate ने हाई डेथ रेट को बैलेंस कर दिया, इसलिए पॉपुलेशन आप देख सकते हैं, आपने देखा भी होगा डायग्राम में कि वो ऑलमोस्ट बैलेंस रहती है, बहुत बढ़ती नहीं है, लो रहती है और बैलेंस रहती है. प्रेजेंटली नो कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड exist in this category of stage. However, it applies only to the most remote societies on the earth, such as the isolated tribes in Amazon basin with little or no contact with the outside world. All human populations are believed to have had this stage until the late 18th century. The second stage, which is known as the Industrial Revolution stage, here, or we can also say that it is the early expanding stage where very rapid increase in population is seen. Death rate falls sharply due to the improvement in healthcare and sanitation. Birth rate remains high. Total population grows very quickly. Improvement in farming technology and increase in food supply. Better nutrition, water supply, sewerage facilities and personal hygiene, and also improvement in the public health system. Increase in female literacy combined with public health education programs. For example, those countries which lies in this second stage, which is known as the Industrial Revolution stage or early expanding stage, poorest developing countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bolivia, sub-Saharan countries such as Niger, Uganda and Middle East countries like Yemen, Palestine territories are still in this stage second. In the third stage, which is known as the post-industrial revolution stage or the late expanding stage, here the increase in the population slows down. So, the main features of this stage are: birth rate falls due to the availability of the contraceptions, reduction of child labor, fewer children being needed to work in farms due to mechanization of the farming. Death rate stays at low level due to the improvement in health conditions. An increase in the status and education level of the women. Total population still rises rapidly due to population momentum. The gap between the birth and death rate narrows down. For example, most developing countries that have registered significant social and economical advances are in this third stage, such as Costa Rica, Panama, Jamaica, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Lebanon, South Africa and India also. All these countries comes in this late expanding stage or where the increase in the birth rate slows down, or this stage is also known as the post-industrial revolution stage. On the way, few countries are on the way to come up in this stage are South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Swaziland, Lesotho, Namibia, Kenya and Ghana. have begun to move into this third stage also. In stage 4, the stabilization has come, and this is also known as the low stationary stage, or the silent feature of this stage is very slow increase. Birth control is widely available and there is a desire for smaller families has increased. Both birth and death rate are low level. Total population is still high, but it is balanced by low birth rate and low death rate. For example, newly industrialized countries such as Southern Korea, Taiwan have just entered in this stage. Before these countries, South Korea, Taiwan, United States, Canada, Argentina, Australia, New Zealand, most of the European countries, Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Trinidad and Tobago, Brazil, Singapore, Iran, China, Turkey, Thailand and Mauritius come in this stage. Now comes the stage 5, which is known as the declining population stage. Main features of this stage are low birth rate along with an aging population leads to declining population. Second, death rate may remain consistently low and increase slightly due to increase in lifestyle diseases like obesity, stress and diabetes. Birth rate may drop to well below replacement level. For example, countries like Germany, Italy, Japan, Russia leading to a shrinking population. आप यहाँ समझ सकते हैं कि इन सब कंट्रीज में जो पॉपुलेशन है वो श्रिंक कर रही है. क्यों? क्योंकि मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है और जो डेथ रेट है वो बिल्कुल ही नेग्लिजिबल है. क्यों? क्योंकि वहाँ पर लेकिन इलनेस जो सोसाइटीज के अंदर है वो बहुत बढ़ गई है, सच लाइक ओबेसिटी, स्ट्रेस, डायबिटिक. फाइन. और जो बर्थ रेट है वो डेथ रेट से भी नीचे आ गया. यहाँ पर नए जन्म नहीं हो रहे हैं, नए जन्मों की कमी हो गई है, लेकिन पुरानी जो ओल्ड एज पीपल की जो पॉपुलेशन है वो इन कंट्रीज में बहुत ज़्यादा है. सो these are the 5 stages which explain the demographic transition theory in a very smooth way. Now, what happens to birth and death rate? As population move through the stage of the model, the gap between the birth rate and death rate first widen. You can easily see this in the previous diagram. Then it becomes narrower. In this first stage, the two rates are balanced. In stage 2, they diverge as the death rate falls relatively to the birth rate. In stage 3, they converge again as the birth rate falls relatively to the death rate. Finally, in stage 4, the death and birth rate are balanced again but at much lower level. So I hope you understand this theory in a easier way. I try my level best to explain this theory in an easier way so that you all can understand it a better way. This is all for today's lecture. Thank you for watching.